Hi, I'm Diane Haring, and this evening I'm going to show you how to replace a trigger connector bar. We're going to take the trigger connector bar, which is the stock connector bar for a Glock 26, 5 pound. We're going to replace it with a 3.5 pound connector bar. There's a few items you'll need. You'll need a small punch, a large punch, and a screwdriver. And we'll be ready to get started. We're going to drop the slide. And in the safe direction, pull the trigger. Now we're going to remove the slide because we're not going to be working on the slide tonight. We're just going to be working on the frame. So I grasp the back of the slide with my right hand and pull it just a little bit back. And with your thumb and index finger, there are 2 notches on either side of the Glock. You want to pull those down simultaneously and release the slide. And we're going to set the slide off because we're not going to be working on that. Now the first thing we want to do is remove the trigger housing pin, and it's on the back of the frame where the back strap is. I use the small punch to punch that pin out. That one comes out fairly easy. That's the first pin you want to remove. Set it aside. Take your back strap off and set it aside. Now the next pin we're going to remove is the locking block pin, and it's the smaller pin at the top of the locking block. It just takes a little bit of pressure to punch that pin out. Wiggle it a little bit, it'll go ahead and come out. Give it a pull. Now the next pin is a trigger pin, and it's a little more difficult to remove. I take the larger punch and I place it here on this trigger pin. And while you need to grasp the slide release with your left hand, push it up, catch your thumb under this little lever here, and you need to pull over to the right and up because you've got to match the hole on this slide release with the hole here in order to get this pin out. So we're just going to wiggle it around a little bit while pressing with the punch in your right hand till we can get that pin, those holes to match up so we can get the pin out. And it can be a little bit frustrating. You've got to get the slide release lever in just the right spot. There we go. And then take that out. And now we're going to remove the slide release. Set that aside. The next part to come out will be your locking block. Take your screwdriver, and I place it under the locking block here, sorry about that, and kind of lever it out and set it aside. Next we're going to take the trigger housing unit, pull up with the bar, set your frame aside, and this is your trigger housing with the trigger. This is a trigger bar, and this is the connector that we're going to replace. I grasp the trigger housing in my left hand and the trigger bar in my right hand. Get a firm grip on that housing because you're going to pull back, twist to the right, and bring it up. This is your trigger spring, and this is the stock connector bar that we're going to be replacing. Place your screwdriver under that bar and just kind of work it up. You don't want to bend it, you just want to work it out of its slot and pull it out. And that's done. Now we're going to take the 3.5 pound connector bar and we're going to place it right back in the slot that we took the 5-pound one out. Place it in the slot, and I press on the back of the bar so because we don't want to bend that, we just want to press it into place. Press it firmly until it's in place. Now grasp the trigger housing again and the trigger bar, bring it down, pull it back like you did originally, back around to the right, and put it back in this slot right here. And it's together. It's just that easy. Now we are going to place the trigger housing unit with the trigger, turn it around this way, grasp your frame, and place this trigger housing in this slot. And of course the trigger goes in the upper slot. Press it down into place. It's very easy. Next we're going to put the back strap back in place. And then we're going to put the trigger housing pin back in place because we want the trigger housing to stay stable while we're putting the rest of the parts in. We don't want it to move around. So place it in the proper hole, and I press it in with the big punch just to get it started. Next we're going to put the locking block in place. Locking block goes here. It just slides right in. Press it down. And the next pin to go in is the small pin. And that's the locking block pin. You want that to go in first. Take your small punch and press it in place. A little tight. Just keep pressing and it'll go in. Now next you want to take your slide release, because you want this spring to go under that pin you just put in place. And this spring goes in this slot right here. So we're going to put that in place now. And it fits right in where it should go there. Right there. And now this is the tricky part again, because you're going to have to hold this slide stop lever and match up this hole with this hole in order to get your spring in. Your pin. So go ahead and put your slide stop lever in. I take the pin and I put it in the hole, and I put it about to right here. Place it about to that one where this groove is, second groove. Now, you want to take your left hand, put your left index finger on that pin, because you're going to be pressing that pin in as you realign these two holes. The hole here and the hole on the slide release lever. So I'm going to pull up and over, match those holes up while pushing that pin, and there it went. And now you want to hear a click when you press on this pin. That means the pin is in place and everything is back together. Now we're just going to take the slide and we're going to place it back on the gun, match the notches up, bring it back and hear a click, work the action, make sure it's working properly, click the trigger, make sure it's working properly, and you're done. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this segment.